Nintendo Switch 2 Direct leads to pricing and availability concerns as Trump's tariffs threaten the global economy. A Nintendo Direct occurred in preparation for the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, where a release date and a slew of new titles for this year and beyond were unveiled. However, fan excitement warped to disappointment as prices increased for Nintendo hardware and games, with U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs set to exacerbate the issue. On April 2nd, Nintendo announced video games such as the Duskbloods, Kirby Air Riders, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, along with a console release set for June 5th. But following the showcase, listed prices showed the console would cost $449 in the US, a $150 increase from the original Switch, to the disappointment of fans. Furthermore, while Donkey Kong Bonanza listed for the recently new industry standard of $70, Mario Kart World is currently going for $80, leading to confusion of how the rest of Nintendo Switch's 2 catalog will be priced. I'm going to stop there, Connor, and I'm going to start with just that, because we haven't really talked about the Switch 2 or any of the tech stuff that they talked about in their Direct. They say that games will run at 120 FPS on the Switch 2, at least in handheld mode. The screen on the handheld mode is bigger, but it is not thicker. Same thickness as the Switch 1. That kind of disappoints me. That boy could be a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Be a little bit thicker. I think the Joy-Cons are a little thicker, but the screen is not, which that's a good thing to be. But I still think we could go a little, just to fill out the hands a little better. Anyways. So the screen's bigger. The controllers are a little bit bigger. $449. First of all,
HDR.
HDR. First of all, Nintendo's saying HDR and 120 FPS is something I never expected coming out of this Direct. I'm glad it's here. A little disappointed the screen is not OLED, but reports coming out from previews is that the screen is quite high quality. So we are getting high quality images on there. It looks like Nintendo is swinging a little bit heavier this time around for technology. I appreciate that. With that, I would expect a sizable price increase from the $300 that we got from Switch 1. I was predicting $400. We're $50 above that. That, I think, is the most that they could have possibly charged for this. They're right to charge for as much as they think they can. And I think they can. I think they have. But that is before Donald Trump's tariffs all went in. So before we even get into that, I'm going to ask $450 for the Nintendo Switch 2. What is your reaction to that?
My issue is not with the price of the console.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, 400 seems more reasonable, but Nintendo's they're greedy. No other way to say it, they're greedy. And that's
in comparison, I don't think they're more greedy than anybody else out here.
It's not applicable to the console again. Like, yeah, they're doing it because they're greedy, like all companies are, but not in a way where it's like, you shouldn't be doing this because you're greedy. It's in the realm of possibility.
So before we get to software prices, $450 is okay. Switch 2 for you?
Yeah,
Even though we're still underpowered from even what the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are presenting. I think we're somewhere in the middle ground between a PS4 Pro and like a Series S. We're like somewhere in between that and I think we're higher than those two, but we're lower than the other guys.
But that's the thing with Nintendo. Even though their hardware is lower powered, they are far more exclusive.
Yeah.
And the act of taking it on the go is far more preferable just to get a Switch than get like a PlayStation Portal or a Steam Deck for most people.
Yeah.
So they understand that their system is unique.
Have we heard any comparison to Steam Deck? I've heard we're close to what the Steam Deck has.
I haven't heard I have heard comparisons only in the sense they're trying to, push their handheld device, which I'm assuming it's probably caught up in the whole entire idea of pushing multiplayer as well for their online services. But they're competing with those consoles because no longer is Switch the only handheld or the common handheld.
Nintendo does not. They carved their own lane with the Switch 1. They're not the only ones in that lane anymore.
Yeah.
And it looks like more are coming.
But it helps that the Nintendo and their stuff is very often only available on the console.
Yep.
Which is why my main issue is the raising or the potential raising of their games from $70 to $80.
No potential. They're going up.
Well, that's the thing. Other games are $70, like Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Gotcha.
But then it's $80 for Mario Kart World. So
Digital.
It's like, well, yes. The whole thing with physical games costing more is not true. That is not been
That's
confirmed.
not been
it's
confirmed. Okay,
not been confirmed by Nintendo.
it might
Now,
happen still.
when the tariffs happen.
Yeah.
That will be when things will probably change. But as it stands right now, that was just people. That was some incorrect pricing. I understand
Gotcha.
from online. Some articles were reporting on it, but that was a couple days after the direct. Now that it's been almost a week, coming up on a week, it's been cleared out that there's no confirmation on that.
So I'm, in terms of software games going up in price, I'm of two minds of it. First of all, it sucks. Nobody likes when things get more expensive. Nobody likes it. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it, right? We want our games to stay as cheap as they can possibly be, right? They were at $60 for a long time. It was talk amongst the industry. We were long overdue for a price hike. Now you can argue on whether or not we needed it or not, all till the cows come home. We were probably overdue with it, with how everything else was getting more expensive as we kept going, right? And the core reasons for that, I agree with you, are agreed, there's a top 1% who has more money than everybody else.
And they want more.
And they want more. And they don't need more. They don't need what they have right now. And Nintendo, at least for a long time, held out for an entire generation at $60, with the exception of Tears of the Kingdom. This sounds to me that they are coming up to $70 with everybody else, industry standard. I'm fine with that because they are also coming up in technology a little bit more. The problem with charging $70 for Switch 1 titles is the Switch 1 is a piece of crap, technology-wise. Like it's a great console. It gave us great games, and it trailblazed a new lane for taking your games on the go. Love that. That wore out its welcome after the first year, and then it was, fuck, this game looks like crap. God, even the Zelda games don't run as well as they should. Oh man, this game, this third-party game that came to the console looks like garbage. We're getting Mortal Kombat 1s, out here that look like they're from the N64 era of games in order to run on this console, right? There's a bunch of problems like that. So they're upgrading their hardware so that they can put more third-party stuff on this console. It's going to be more up to par with what everybody else has. Still behind, but more up to par. I can appreciate and I can respect that. And so $70, that's fine. $80 for select titles is acceptable to me. It's not preferable, but it's acceptable. If the game is a banger, and if the game took a long time to develop, which we know this Mario Kart World Tour did take a long time to develop. You and I covered rumors and leaks about Mario Kart 9 all the way back in like 2022, So here we are 3+ years later going, oh, here's the new one. It's been cooking for a long time. They want to make more money off of it. And on top of that, it's our launch title for the system. It's also worth noting, we haven't said it yet, there's a $500 bundle with the Switch 2 that includes Mario Kart World Tour, Mario Kart World, in which that's a $30 saving if you get both at the same time. So clearly, Mario Kart World is $80 to push you to get the bundle so that they can get $500 out of you instead of $450.
Which could be why it's only for Mario Kart World.
Huh?
Which could be why that's only for Mario Kart World right now.
Right now.
They could be testing the waters.
I expect the next big Zelda game, whatever that is, whether it's a Tears of the Kingdom sequel or something along those lines, I expect that one to be $80 as well. But things like Mario Party, I expect to be $60 to $70. If we are exploring the scale and $70 is not the floor, I'm totally okay with this. If some titles go back down to 60, if some titles go down to 50, 40 dollars, I'm totally okay with that. The problem is that I don't believe they will. I do believe that $70 will be the floor, and that's where the problem lies. I don't want to pay $70 for a Mario Party game. I don't want to pay $70 for a Mario sports game that's not very good. I don't want to do that.
I want to pay $70 for Breath of the Wild since it came out how many years ago now?
Yeah. Like you got away with it for Tears of the Kingdom just because the other guys were doing it and we knew it was a big title for you, right?
Not to mention, we're undermining the fact that Nintendo doesn't go on sale, which adds to the entire idea that this is when we were first seeing those prices, before we knew how much Trump's tariffs were affecting those prices.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, oh, they're using the economic instability to raise prices so they can get more money. Now that's not the case. I don't include it in this article. I do point in the direction that the increase in prices wasn't a result of Trump tariffs because of a spokesperson that said something to VentureBeat. But Doug Bowser came out and was like, no, it has nothing to do with it. Now, they opened themselves up to pricing will change later, and we'll let you know. But
Yeah.
the decision to raise the price as it stands had nothing to do with Trump's tariffs. And that makes sense. I mean, they had to have been
I don't think
discussing
it
this
had
kind of
nothing
stuff.
to do with it.
I think it had nothing to do with it. I think they know what they are. They're Nintendo.
Yeah.
As I was saying before. They have games you can only get here. Now they're doing a FromSoft game you can only get there. They're doubling down on their titles being exclusive to their console, and now they're extending that even further with multiplayer games. I think they realize the position they're in, that people are going to buy games. I have seen a whole week of shitting on Nintendo fans, deservedly, because obviously the outrage was pretty harsh against Nintendo.
It is. It's very harsh.
It's been neutered. And I see some of these same exact people who are complaining about it saying, it sucks, but, it's Nintendo, basically bending themselves over and showing them their asshole. It's the pathetic nature of Nintendo fans because they're loser consumers.
Well, I'm not going to go that far. Nintendo delivers the goods more often than they don't.
They do, and I was kind of half joking. They know there's a bunch of loser consumers out there who will buy their products regardless of the price. And so now people
Those are just called fans, Connor. Those are just called fans.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between fans and mindless fans.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo has a lot of the mindless guys.
Well, it begs the question: how much are you willing to spend for a video game? And in today's economic landscape,
before it gets even worse,
I'm not willing to spend. Listen, right now, I can't budget $100 for a video game. I can't budget $90 for a video game. I could kind of budget $80. I can budget $70. $60 would have been the like premiere. Oh yeah, I'm still buying every new game that comes out. But now as we continue to get higher and higher, you and I have been talking. I don't know if I'm where I am personally now economically. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford having a top 10 games of the year for this year. That's where I'm at, And there's a lot of other people who are like me. There's a lot of people who have been like this for a long time, And so it's not. It feels a little tone deaf of Nintendo to do this right now and to have the hard jump from 60 to 80, at least for Mario Kart World.
And I think it really does go back to the fact they know people are going to buy their stuff.
And we haven't even said it yet, not including any of this information in the Direct is cowardly.
Oh yeah, because they knew what the reaction was going to be.
You knew what the reaction was going to be. You knew it was going to take all the air out of your win for your big Nintendo Direct. You knew more people were going to go and watch the Nintendo Direct than they were going to go to your website and find out the pricing for all of these things. And that's gross. Mm-hmm. That is where we look at Nintendo and go, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's not cool.
At the core of it, they are like we cover some positive stories. Like for example, during the time when Nintendo was really struggling, the CEOs, the executives.
This is why I don't believe Nintendo to be a greedy company. I believe they are stingy with their IPs and what they do, and I do believe that it's not cool that they never discount their games or whatever. But when their games are as high quality as they usually are, not a hard rule. There are garbage games that they put out, right? But for the most part, they're quality. So I'm okay with it, right? And let's be honest, they spent a generation $10 less than everybody else.
Yeah.
That's fair. For 5 years, they stayed at $60 with the exception of one game.
Breath of the Wild.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But that's fair.
Well, hey, know what they did? They waited.
And
then
they bit harder.
Time to even do it. To basically, any goodwill they got from that is eradicated if they go to $80 because it just makes up the difference and, how long they spent still staying at $60.
Sure.
Especially if it has, wider impacts, which if they do dedicate to doing $80, it's going to. GTA 6, there's been discussions that it potentially could cost up to $120.
This to me confirms a base version of Grand Theft Auto 6 will be $80.
Yeah.
And before we've had conversations about this in the past, I didn't believe the $100 rumors for a base version of GTA 6. There will be a $120, $150, $200 version of GTA 6 that you can buy. Collector's editions, bonus skins. Here's $100,000 cash in game or whatever. You get starter cars that other people weren't getting. All of those versions and iterations were always going to exist, right? There was going to be a version of GTA 6 that was over $100. I did not believe the baseline version was ever going to be $100 until this. Now we're saying that the $90 physical version stuff not so true anymore. We're gonna cross our fingers and hope that is the case post tariff. I don't think it will be either. We're gonna get into that in a second. But After this, GTA 6 absolutely is going to be $80 minimum.
Minimum, yeah. And know what? What I just said about Nintendo?
People are going to buy it.
They're fucking loser bitches who do
I think
anything
GTA
they
6
want.
is Grand Theft Auto 6 to me is worth $80. I know for you
You
disagree,
didn't play it
but
yet.
for the
You
amount of
didn't play it
content that you're going to get, and you have to remember a lot of the online stuff is usually free. I don't know if they're going to change that for 6, but GTA 5, all of it was free.
Unless you're playing on a PlayStation.
Well, yeah, but like that's not a GTA problem.
It's not, no.
No, yeah. So like, but all of the expansions, the heists, the updates, the new guns, the new like you got like fucking spaceships, like flying spaceships in GTA 5.
You have to understand.
And all of that was free. So if that continues to be the business model for 6 is absolutely worth $80.
Yeah, and on that alone, I have no problem with that
Right.
because of what it's going to include. My main issue is shitting on GTA fans because they're drones.
But my question is, Connor, is Mario Kart World worth $80?
It's not worth $80. That's the issue here. I get you said earlier.
Now,
it took a while to develop.
There's
Did it take
there's
that
a
long?
world in which it is. If it's content rich, if it's got a lot going on, if they have updates coming later that are free, maybe not entire course packs. You could charge for those maybe, but like more skins, more carts, more something that are free later on. I could be into that. And if that open world is worth being open world, I could imagine, yes, then it absolutely was worth $80. As of right now, we're living in theoretical. We're not living in practical things. I can theorize GTA 6 being worth $80 because I have GTA 5. I've had GTA 5 for a decade. I know what they did in that game. I know what they added to that game. I know where the game started and where it is today. And the fact that they never forced me to pay for any of that content that they added is phenomenal, right? We don't get that. Mario Kart World, I know what Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. I know I haven't played half the game because you make me pay for it. And so now I have to sit here and look at the game and go, hey, well, what are you adding to make it worth this? An elimination mode and driving from course to course isn't enough.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see when that game comes out. But I think this is a dark moment as far as pricing is concerned. I don't think this is going to result in an exception. I think it's going to become the new rule.
I agree. I don't 100% lay the blame at these specific gaming corporations personally. I lay it on blame of how the rest of the world bows to capitalism, but you kind of have to work within that mold to do things. If wages were going up at the same rate inflation was going up, we wouldn't care about this.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's not. And
Okay.
money's fake, so why is it not going up at the same rate, Like why? All stupid. Anyways, moving back into your article here, Connor. Rumors spread that $10 price hike only applied to digital games and that physical copies would go for $90, but this would not be confirmed by Nintendo. Reddit moderator Razorbeams posted a comprehensive pricing chart to the Nintendo subreddit covering the price of the Switch 2 standalone console, Switch 2 / Mario Kart World Bundle, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Mario Kart World. The chart covers the nations of the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Eurozone, Australia and New Zealand. Asian territories like Japan and South Korea will provide games at a lower price, with Mario Kart World costing approximately $68.58 and $67.14 respectively.
First time I heard about the Eurozone. That's a... Is it,
They don't normally call it like the PAL region or something, or
there's other ways for it. It's basically just any place that uses the euro. Which
okay.
the United Kingdom was that.
And then Brexit.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, and there's probably
What
some...
do they use now? The pound?
Yeah.
But it's not always been the pound?
I think their currency's always been weird. Don't bother asking me.
Okay. All right. Hey, Europeans, y'all, the English, y'all are weird. A 10% minimum tariff on all countries went into effect on April 5th, with higher reciprocal tariffs planned for April 9th, while China, in retaliation, placed a reciprocal tariff of 34% on U.S. goods. While blame initially laid itself on Trump, a Nintendo spokesperson speaking to VentureBeat indicates Trump's tariffs have yet to factor into their pricing. Quote, "We have nothing to announce regarding the impact of tariffs on each country and region," a spokesperson said. Quote, "If there are any price changes, we will make an announcement." Should I stop here or keep going? I don't remember the rest of the article.
I would go out a little bit more.
This isn't to say Trump's looming tariffs haven't affected the Switch 2's rollout, as pre-orders that were originally set to begin April 9th have been delayed indefinitely. A statement from Nintendo to GameStop reads, quote, pre-orders for Nintendo Switch 2 in the U.S. will not start April 9th, 2025, in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later time, or at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged.
Now, do we want to focus on, I guess, the impact of Trump's tariffs? Is that the next main? So I would go and read a little bit more.
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's recap. Console still set to launch in America June 5th.
Yes.
We'll see if we can hold that. It depends,
Yeah.
right? Price as of right now not changing.
It's going to change.
It's going to change. Expect it to change. Expect base model to probably be $500.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. What do you think the chances are of them potentially going, hey, base model $500, but pack-in is Mario Kart?
I think they just raised the price of everything across the board.
$50 each?
Yeah, I don't think they would not. Again, this seems like it's what Nintendo would do. I was thinking they were solely doing the price increases because of Trump's tariffs and using that as kind of an excuse of, hey, we got to do what the economy demands of us, right?
Here's the thing. We've already talked about how we believe the price was going to be more expensive than the Switch 1.
Yeah.
I predicted $400. We don't know. We'll never know. They'll never say it. They're a buttoned-up company. They're going to keep all of their shit buttoned up, so we'll never know this. I theorize that the initial price was $400. Donald Trump got elected, and so they went, all right, $450, because he's talking tariffs, so we're going to have to talk about that. And then the tariffs happened, and they are more severe than anybody predicted, because Donald Trump is an idiot. And so now they're having to go, whoa, $450, not enough. Even though we thought that that's what we were going to do anyways. Because it doesn't make sense to me as a business to know that this threat is looming on the horizon and to not prepare for it. And to me, it would have been better if they were like, well, we were going to launch at 400. Let's jump up to 450 because that's better than having to raise the prices after already announcing what they are. And then reality hit. And so now they're going, shit, we didn't go far enough.
Yes.
So we're going to have to do it anyways, which sucks. And it's going to affect a lot of people. Hey, man, depending on how bad it is, you and I probably will not be getting Switch 2s. I mean, maybe we'll split the cost or something. It all just depends on what it is.
Yeah.
But we may not, us and a lot of other Americans may not be getting Switch 2s for the first year.
Maybe not, depending on what all happens.
Just because of how fucking crazy it is right now.
So basically, for those of you that don't know, I'm not the best with the economy shit. You know, I pay a lot of attention to politics, so thankfully that's adjacent, so I can have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
But the imports that have been put on other countries, that'll be the tariffs that have been put on other countries, was determined by how much we export to that country.
Oh, God, yeah.
Minus how much we import, divided how much we import. Now, the entire idea is that apparently Donald Trump believes that we're losing money if we, like, send... if
we're importing more than we're exporting.
Yes, so he thinks we're losing out somehow, and now everybody in the world's paying the price.
But unilaterally, every economist in the world is going, we don't know the formula for sure, but the math adds up. So they've done the math and they've gone, yeah, this makes sense. It has to be this. And every economist has panned this across the board. They're all going, you're an idiot.
You ever see on Twitter when you were there, those accounts that have like a stone statue, they're like a philosopher of the West or something like that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Not as much as you, but
no,
sure.
No, certainly not. Trump has basically been posting like one of those people, like weak times create hard men. Don't be weak. The weak survive. The weak die. The strong survive. All because people are shitting on him for his horrible impact on the economy.
I mean, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's across the board awful. Everybody's upset. Nobody is happy about this. Even his hardcore base is turning a little bit. I mean, of course, he's got crazies out there who are, eating his ass. So they're in the brown nosing type of way, not the like we're on to you type of way, But yeah, in general, everybody's upset about this. This is going very, very poorly. This is very, very bad. The other problem is that I don't believe you discuss it in your article, but Nintendo changed where they manufacture their goods from, I forget where they initially had it, but they changed to Vietnam. And a lot of that was due to the fact that Vietnam's tariff rates were lower. And so now they're much higher. And so that's the problem. And so there is a bit of a conversation going on online of, well, why can't we manufacture Switches here in America? The thing about that is it takes so fucking long.
You can hold off on that.
Oh, okay.
It is in here. And in fact, it's from an analyst.
Right.
Do you want to go to that right now? It's kind of
I'm just
separate.
going to continue with where we're at, and we can put that and come back to that. IGN's Rebecca Valentine held an interview with Entertainment Software Association spokesperson Aubrey Quinn to discuss the tariffs' impact on pricing and consumer spending. Quinn touched on the uncertainty of how the industry will specifically be affected, but the ESA is willing to negotiate with the new administration to discover solutions. Quote, "We really are at this point just watching and trying not to have knee-jerk reactions, because we don't think that what President Trump announced this week is the end of the story. But what was announced this week in the tariffs as outlined, we do expect these tariffs will have a real and detrimental impact on the industry and hundreds of millions of Americans who love to play games. And so our goal is to work with the administration, to work with other elected officials to try to find a solution that doesn't damage U.S. industries, U.S. businesses, but also American gamers and families." The ESA released a statement where they announced their decision to co-sign a coalition letter sent to the United States Trade Representative Ambassador Jameson Greer in partnership with fellow, quote, innovators, creators, manufacturers, and service providers, such as the Coalition of Service Industries and National Foreign Trade Council. Quinn advocates contacting elected leaders through whatever legal means possible to emphasize the concern held by consumers. Questions regarding the manufacture of Nintendo products to curtail the tariffs was answered by Nico Partners, Director of Research and Insights Daniel Ahmad, that while possible, the likelihood was slim. Can I jump into this tweet now?
Yeah, someone asked him, hey, why can't we manufacture over here? You've been reading a lot. I can read it real quick if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. Catch your breath.
Yeah,
Let your saliva build back
tongue.
up. Yes. So in response to the specific question of, is it all possible to have some manufacturing for Nintendo done in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, if at least to some degree? Daniel Ahmad responded by saying, sure, Nintendo would need to spend billions to open a factory in the U.S. It'd probably take 4 to 5 years to complete this, not to mention the time it'd cost to rebuild supply chain infrastructure and source components, which would be subject to tariff because they're made outside the U.S. They'd need to find, train, and pay employees to operate the factory. Nintendo would have to pay each worker about 10 times to 15 times more than they would for a worker in Vietnam. Then, after you add up the initial capital expenditure, labor costs, supply chain costs, operational costs, etc., you'd be able to buy a U.S. manufactured Nintendo Switch 2 in 5 years for a significantly higher price than $450. And the kicker is that by the time they've done all that, the U.S. will have a new president who will most likely remove the reciprocal tariffs anyway. So, not viable. The ball is in the Trump administration's court on whether these things will continue to affect Americans and citizens worldwide in the coming years.
If only someone could have warned us that this would happen.
Only someone was a better shot.
If only.
Then it would have never happened. That's not. Now, I'm not advocating for any of that to happen. I'm just saying if someone did do it properly.
I did not expect that to come from you.
It wouldn't have happened.
I did not expect that to come from you.
I deal in facts and logic. Call me Ben Shapiro. By the way, speaking to that, Ein Kun, I would be your tomb. I'm ready whenever.
What the fuck? What has been the last 45 seconds of this podcast?
What do you
What
mean?
is going on?
What do you mean?
Yeah, so on the subject of Nintendo, Connor, have I ever told you who my favorite Mario brother is?
You've said it a couple of times.
I just want to make sure. I just want to make
Wario?
sure that I have been on the record.
Waluigi.
I love me, the man in green. You know, he's a guy. He's just such a nice guy.
Bowser, baby.
He's a good-looking lad. I like him. Bowser, baby.
Kind of more than green, but it works.
Can't believe you said if only somebody was a better shot. Oh my god, that's a clip.
Send it to the FBI, and then they'll come knocking.
Jesus Christ. This is a lot.
Oh yeah,
This is a lot.
It's only the beginning of a lot.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have an hour of Kingdom Hearts review after this also, so stay tuned. In the following days of the Direct, strange choices from Nintendo were discovered, such as select physical titles like Elden Ring, referred to being a game key cart in the description on the Play Asia online store. Rather than being a simple cartridge that you insert and play, the purchase comes with a key that allows for downloading of the game from online. It was also found out that the cheaper Japanese version of the console will be region locked so as to evade scalpers. A statement to Forbes reads, quote, "The Japanese language system, Japan only, is available only in the Japanese market. It only supports Japanese as the system language. There are restrictions on the Nintendo accounts that can be linked, and only the Japanese Nintendo eShop can be accessed. The Nintendo Switch 2 multi-language system, which is the same model as will be available in the rest of the world, has an MSRP of 69,980 yen, or $479.71 American. And American?
Wait, $479. Yeah.
American? Okay, I just want to make sure. And will only be available on the Nintendo Store in Japan. Different regions make different decisions based on a variety of factors.
Yeah, this is the nature of what we're dealing with now. I imagine by the time this episode comes out, advancements will happen. There's the grander reciprocal tax, which are going to be put on certain countries that have screwed over the United States. China, I can understand to a degree, but it's not because of rationale that made them.
It's like our number one trading partner in the world,
and we already have tariffs on them. So yeah, everybody who likes video games, from here on out, you will, and as long as these tariffs are in effect, will pay more for hardware, for games, for everything related to the video game industry, unless potentially. Well, we had talked on the reaction to the Switch Direct that digital games aren't affected by tariffs. So it seems like
we looked that up. As of right now, digital goods are not affected by tariffs.
Yeah, so we at least have that breather room, which
I mean,
take it as take what you get. Take what you can get.
I mean, point blank. It's time to separate the cost of the two. If this is the reality that we have to live in because morons put us in the situation, this has to happen, right? Like otherwise, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to happen, but
especially if you have to question whether they have the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, for example, because of the tariffs. Like your theorization was great because they could have. Trump's been talking about these tariffs forever. The issue is that he talks about a lot of stuff forever.
Yeah.
And he goes back on most of it. So
I mean, he was talking about tariffs in 2016. Didn't really happen. But this time, from the jump, it felt more serious this time around.
Well, that's because I'll get into my political bag. Despite as bad as the Trump administration was in 2016 to 2020,
they're so much worse now.
That's because even though there were a lot of sycophants within his administration, there was also a lot of people who were, they were government officials. So they weren't all in on Trump's policies just because Trump is advocating for them. And so, like, for example, when the Black Lives Matter riots were going on, he was trying to get the U.S. military protest. Yes, both happened, admittedly. But he was trying to get the U.S. military to come in and effectively serve as to enforce martial law.
Yeah.
Now, that is not the function of the U.S. military. And so the general he had asked was like, we're not going to do that. So that's how it was then. Now, that's the military. More, what we've seen so far is that those that he's staffed his administration with are yes men and delusional weirdos who are all in for these ideas because they're stupid like Trump is. And they're greedy like Trump is. And so you're going to see a lot less guardrails in place to prevent Trump from doing what he wants to do. And he's been radicalized by the idea that the Democratic administration, the Democratic Party, undermined his election chances in 2020, despite the fact we know even more so than we did then that that's not true. Clearly...
Yeah, bro, you fumbled a fucking pandemic.
Exactly.
We wanted you gone.
On top of a number of other bad ideas that wouldn't have done him any favor, even if there wasn't a pandemic. All that's to say, though, he's clearly gone balls to the wall more than he ever has before, and these tariffs are just one symptom of that. And so it's... Really, you're just going to have to determine, is Trump going to be stubborn in the face of resistance? Not from the global leaders, world leaders elsewhere and other countries. He's going to be fine taking their ire. The American people are not happy with him. So it all depends on whether he's going to be able to stand up to the hate he's going to be getting. So, what's the we're at a focal point, a crux.
I'm sorry that I'm failing you. I would normally have
We're at a precipice.
at a pressure
We're at a
point.
precipice.
A
precipice.
okay. We're at a precipice.
We're at a crossroads.
That's
We're
it. Yeah.
either going to go
Yeah.
better
Tell me about
or
it.
worse.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So if we turn left,
We get
we get worse if we
right.
turn left.
Yes.
Okay, and we
Right,
go
we
go
get
right, we get better.
Because that's right.
But like, isn't it? Didn't we turn right in November, and now we're in a worse place? Isn't that how
We turned right as is the American standard. The global standard, arguably, we didn't even go right. We went off the rail. Using the standard of other countries for where the right and left is.
Free
we don't-
Luigi.
Ladies
and gentlemen, this has been your episode of the Two Penny Games cast. Thank you so much. Listen,
You want to hear me talk more about politics, Tavin?
We don't like to talk about it either. All right,
I do.
No, you do, but like we not on this
Not on this
podcast. Like that's not what this podcast is for.
If
But undeniably, we've been driven to the point to where we have to.
If we're talking about it on the podcast, it's not good news.
It's not good news.
It's not. No.
No. I mean, unless everything gets reversed and we can go back down
It
to
never
$60. I liked $60. That was a good place to be at.
Oh, I love $60.
Even when it was $60, I liked it being at 60. It just
I
felt
never
right.
minded.
It just felt right.
Every now and then they'd be 50. Be even happy.
You'd be like, hey, look at that. You know,
$50
Spider-Man
win.
Miles Morales, look at you.
No more.
No more. Miles Morales would have been $40 pre-price hike.
It would have been.
I was okay with paying $50 for that.
I know, because you're a Spider-Man shill. Like
Well,
the
I
Nintendo
mean, it was a
shills,
sizable game.
and
It was a
like
good
the
enough
GTA
game. It was
shills.
good. It deserved it. It deserved
Yeah.
it.
It wouldn't have mattered if it
It
deserved
earned
it or not.
$50.
That still wouldn't have mattered.
It
You
would
would
not
got
have
it anyway.
earned $60. It would not have earned that.
These factors would not have mattered. You would have bought it anyway.
Now the question is, did Spider-Man 2 earn $70?
No.
That's a trickier one. That's a trickier. That's one I really gotta balance. But how many of these games really do earn $70? You know, what was the last game to earn $70?
King is
Baldur's Gate.
Elden Ring. It didn't even cost $70.
Sure, I think Elden. Did it not?
$60.
Elden Ring, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that.
And look at the FromSoft. What can I say? No.
Yeah.
Maybe this new one will be $60. Let's say like, hey, we price our games.
I imagine it would be.
I don't.
Dude,
think you
$60
know you're dealing
is
with
the
that.
new 40. How fucking crazy is that?
For companies that aren't Nintendo. Nintendo for a $40.
I mean, they're all gonna go that way, right? How much do you think that Nintendo Switch 2 tour is gonna be?
Better be fucking 60 at most. That's too much.
You think it's gonna be $60?
Oh wait, no, it's not the fucking same thing. You know, it's gonna be like it's not free.
No. The one where they like break down the Switch 2 and you do all the thing.
I'll say
$20 max, right?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say $20, but that's even too high. So
I mean, that's
we'll go
too
there.
high. It should be free,
Yeah,
right? But what can you get away with charging for that? If you do more than $20, you're fucking insane.
Nintendo shills. They'll pop out of the woodwork.
Let us know down in the comments below what you thought about everything going on. But don't go anywhere. Don't press that X button. Don't swipe away. Don't click on nothing else. Because we've got a full hour-long review of Kingdom Hearts. That's right. The Two Penny Game Club has returned with possibly its best episode ever. Possibly.
It's not,
But it's damn good. It's
good
a
one.
damn good episode. I love the ending. You got to stick all the way through the ending. You got to watch the whole thing. It's fantastic.